you know, we put these classes on to try to help some of our customers. Our big push is to try to elevate our customers, right? Try to teach you guys stuff that is new in the industry, or maybe you don't use already. Try to, you know, just push more business to you guys. And so we've partnered up with all of our manufacturers, bring them in, do some training, and Jeremy Hell, he's with 3M, and he's going to be, is there anybody else coming with you, or are you running this?
Just running. All
right, he's the man. So we'll all be helping out, but yeah, he's going to be going over wall graphic.
So yeah, I'm Jeremy Heil from 3M. I'm based out of Arizona, but I cover Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico. I've met some of you before. A lot of new faces doing here today. I've been working with 3M for about 2.5 years now, but I've been in the sign industry for about 8.5, 9 years. So do have some experience. But I'll give you guys all my cards here. Just pass these around and take one if you want one. But offer to have you guys call me anytime you have questions, anytime you have concerns about installations, products that you might want to use or recommend to your customers, or for a specific application. If I can't help you, I'll get you in direct contact with our technical staff, who might be able to, you know, give you more in-depth information. We do run a training class back in St. Paul every month. It's a three-day classroom setting where you spend some time learning via PowerPoint presentations, and then most of your afternoon, most of your day is then spent out in our training facility where you're handling films. But you're not just learning vehicles, you'll be learning stuff like this, where we do textured wall wraps, also floor graphics. And then after the 3-day training, there's a 2-day testing period. And if you pass the 11 physical tests and 1 written test, you become a 3M preferred installer and get listed on our website. So most people, to be honest with you, don't pass all 12 tests the first time. They have to go back into the testing part. We try to take our certifications and preferences pretty serious. We don't just want to hand out them to anybody. So if you do call one of those installers and look them up online to help you do a wrap, you're going to be getting somebody that is experienced and knows what they're doing. Some other people out there will offer just a preferred installer just because it gives them a title, but that's not exactly how ours works. We actually want to get good installers out there. So if you guys ever do have any questions about that or want to know more about it, when it is, it's available on our website, 3mgraphics.com, or you can call me and I can get you in contact with the schedulers for that. We have approved some training facilities around the United States now, so if you don't want to go back to St. Paul, you can attend a class. I think there's now a place in Los Angeles, Dallas, Kansas, and Florida. So we have 4 training facilities outside that aren't the 3M class. It's very, very structured like our class, but it's not handled by 3M employees. It's people that we've approved to be trainers for us. So there are options if you don't want to travel back to St. Paul, Minnesota. I typically recommend everybody to go to St. Paul, at least for the first one, because you're getting the hands-on experience with the real 3M reps back there. So, secondly, I'd like to say thank you to Regional Supply. You guys are very lucky to have a supplier like this. I've been all around the country, and actually have a supplier that holds these wrap classes and teaches their customers more about the industry, more about applications, is very unique. It's not a big thing. So buy your supplies from them, support them, so that they can continue to do this sort of stuff for you guys. Into that, I'll kind of just cut into the textured video, and then we'll go over a couple things after it's over.
Envision brand print wrap films from 3M for smooth surfaces and textured walls, for flat surfaces and deep curves, and for all the in-betweens. The first high-performing non-PVC print wrap films on the market with a sustainability edge. Learn more about this amazingly versatile and exciting new product line at www.3mgraphics.com. In this video, you'll see how simply and quickly 3M brand Envision print wrap films conform to rough textures like brick walls to create a painted-on look. Even with deep grout lines, even with this much texture. For truly rough texture and extra deep grout lines, do a test run first to make sure you get the results you want. As with every film installation, start with a clean substrate. Make sure the substrate is dry, especially for outdoor installations recently exposed to rain or sprinklers. Clean obvious contaminants with the appropriate cleaner. Contaminants can prevent the film from conforming and adhering well, and can later lead to edge lifting. Brush off loose dirt and debris with a brush, and avoid installing film on loose or damaged substrates or over existing film. If you have any doubts about the stability or dryness of the substrate, fully apply a small test film, check its initial adhesion, leave it in place for a week, and recheck for good adhesion and appearance. Detailed information is available in 3M Instruction Bulletin 5.37. For the best, fastest, and most professional installation, always use the 3M brand two-handled textured surface applicator TSA4, along with the heat gun capable of maintaining 1000 degrees Fahrenheit, some masking tape, and silicone caulking for outdoor applications. That's it. Okay, let's get started with the installation. Position the film on the wall and hold it in place with masking tape. Try to avoid having the edges of the film begin or end within a grout line. Now, lift the film, grasp the liner, and pull it off of the film, using 2 hands if needed. And yes, go ahead and remove the entire liner. 3M brand Envision films conform only on demand. While maintaining proper alignment, use just your hands, no squeegee or tools, to create the initial adhesion to the wall. I told you, this was easy. Mount the heat gun in the two-handled applicator so the nozzle will be 1 inch above the film. Then set the heat gun to 1000 degrees Fahrenheit and let it warm up. Now the fun begins as heat and pressure quickly conform the film to the texture. First, heat seal 3 of the 4 edges of the film, leaving the 4th edge open to allow an air escape route. Then, starting just off the top corner of the film, opposite from the open edge, begin conforming the film to the substrate. As you do this, you will be going over the heat-sealed edges. The proper application speed is essential to get good adhesion and avoid burning the film. Move along steadily at 3 inches per second, starting before the first edge and stopping only after you have completely passed the opposite edge. Overlap each pass by 50 to 75% to ensure the film fully conforms to the texture. You should be able to apply about 75 square feet per hour at this rate. This is up to 50% faster than with other 3M films for textured surfaces. A great time saver. As you move across the film, watch what you just applied to be sure you are moving at the right speed. A burned spot indicates that you need to move a little faster. Unfortunately, there is no way to undo a burn. Thanks to 3M's Comply adhesive with air release channels, it's very unlikely you'll ever trap air bubbles when applying 3M's Envision print wrap film. You are almost done already, and the installation is looking great. To help keep that great look on outdoor applications, seal the top edge of the film with a clear silicone caulk, which prevents moisture from seeping behind the film and through the grout lines. This quick tip can boost durability in outdoor applications. And that's a wrap, with Envision brand print wrap films from 3M, of course.
So any questions about that, what you saw in there? So the product that we were talking about in there is our Envision wrap film. Here's a sample, printed sample of what we're going to begin installing today. Anybody familiar with this new Envision wrap film at all? This is our new wrap film that we came out with about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago at the SGIA show in Las Vegas. And this particular wrap film product is also used for vehicles, but as you saw in the video here, is textured wall surfaces, floor graphics, window graphics. It's got a wide variety of product range that it can be used for. But the big thing about this product is that we came out with it for the more environmentally sustainable edge side of things. This is a non-PVC based product. So the way in which it's manufactured is much more sustainable to the earth, and not having PVC in it, no petroleum-based product. So the other thing about it, it does stretch about 25 to 35% more than our typical IJ180 CB3 film that most of you are probably familiar with from wrapping vehicles already if you're doing that sort of thing. And then the laminate on top of it, the Envision laminate 8548G that we're using today is a non-PVC based product as well, but it thermoforms, and that's the key point to doing the textured wall wraps like this, is it, with the heat, it allows that laminate vinyl, and this actually isn't vinyl, so it's film, to thermoform to the surface. And that's the important part of doing textured walls. You can take any PVC-based laminate and put heat to it and apply it, but PVCs do over time have a slight bit of memory, so they're going to crack or break or recess out and remove off the wall. So this laminate will help prevent that. We did come out with, several years ago, probably 2007, 2006, we came out with a product called IJ8624 and 8524 over laminate. Before these products came out, without air release in it, that we were using for our textured wall wraps, but we're now using this textured wall wrap film with air release, so a lot less bubbles get trapped. In the film, or in the video, they say virtually impossible to get air bubbles, but I think that's a virtually impossible statement. So
I could get air bubbles.
yeah. So the air bubbles will help greatly improve the opportunity to not have air bubbles, but there's still going to be an instance where you get something caught. The other thing you'll notice about this film, if you haven't messed around or installed with it, is it's much more dimensionally stable than our 180 film. Not being PVC based, it's not as soft. So it takes quite a bit more heat to get it to stretch, which is good for wall graphics when you're removing the liner, because a lot of times when you remove the liner, you stretch the film. And they had the perfect scenario in the video today where they're doing 154-inch wide panel. Instead, we're going to be doing several panels. So they didn't have to line anything up. So when it comes to lining graphics up, having this film is a lot better for you because you're not going to stretch it as you pull the liner off. And we'll work with that today where we pull a foot or two off at a time and then pull a foot or two off at a time after we heat it up and get it in. That'll help prevent the pulling rate, because if you pull everything down on one and then you go pull the next one down, you're going to have uneven tension, so they're going to stretch at different rates. So in a foot time, you're not really going to stretch it too much. So we do recommend, if you're doing panels, to go about a foot at a time or 2 feet at a time before. And that's textured wall wrap or even flat wall wrap where you're not using heat.
So would you say a foot at a time or less, or just like a foot?
You kind of, I mean, you're not obviously not going to want to measure every time. It's just going to take way too much time. So
well, I'm saying
a foot to 2 foot. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
I'm
get
saying
comfortable.
is it better to go like, because a lot of time I'll do it where I'm pulling and applying like an inch or two is all.
Yeah.
As I go down.
And that's going to be the least amount of stretch rate that you're going to see come out, is going an inch or two at a time. It does come down to your specific installation comfortability, how you get comfortable with it, what you feel is more time effective for yourself. That's the biggest thing for installers, is time. You want to be speedy because that's how you're getting paid. If you can get done with that job and get another job done in the same day, then you're able to make more money. Where the graphic manufacturers themselves, if you're not actually producing the graphic, they're going to be saying, well, we want you to go slow because we want it to be perfect. So you got to find that even keel in there. So, but this particular product can be used, like I said, for vehicles, textured walls, flat walls, windows. It does have a removable adhesive on it. The other big thing about our textured wall wrap film is it is removable after several years of being on a wall. And so what you typically would do is get your heat gun back out, grab the corner of it, heat it back up, and kind of peel it from the corner, and it should come off the wall. Now, it could damage some of the paint if there's paint. It could pull a little bit of the mortar too if it's not tightly sealed in there. But the other thing that they did show you in this video is caulking the edge with a silicone sealer, and that just prevents moisture from seeping down. The top edge is really the most important because most of your time the water's running down. So if that edge gets weak, you know, it can then escape down in there, which then water's getting trapped in. It's going to slowly work its way through the graphic and pull it off. So sealing the top edge, very, very important on an outdoor graphic, exterior graphic. Sealing the side edges is helpful too if you have the time to do it, because if you get the blowing winds or rains, sealing it. The bottom edge you can kind of, unless you want to just seal it so kids aren't picking at it, if it's in that area or people aren't picking at it, you know, we would recommend doing that too. But once again, it's all about time and cost-effective side. So if it's high up in the air, you don't need to seal that bottom edge. Doing an exterior graphic, one of the most important things to remember is that it is a sealed surface if you really want it to last a lot longer. Because if it's not sealed, and we do this on, you know, just raw exterior brick all the time, that isn't sealed and doesn't have a sealant on it, and it works and it'll hold up, but there's always the increased rate of failure potential because moisture will soak through the bricks into the adhesive, and moisture is not our friend with adhesives. So,
Jeremy, we have one on the other side of this wall.
Yep.
For our driveway here. It's been there I think 2.5 years. South facing in the heat, so it takes, you know, a lot of views. It still looks great.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. You're going to get several years out of this. There's graphics that have been up 5-7 years. I've got graphics in Arizona where we get 120 degrees in the summer, south facing, southwest facing, still looking good. That have been up for about 4 years now. I think that the graphics faded probably a little bit, but it hasn't burned out and browned out like you'll see in some other graphics, which is amazing to me. That's the other key thing about this laminate that's on here. The Envision Over laminate is actually our only laminate and the only laminate in the industry that is approved for a horizontal surface warranty on vehicles. So your hoods and roofs, or the fender where they bend up, if you guys see that browning or cracking of that material, there technically is, and no manufacturer's warranty anything that's covered. So your SOL if something goes wrong there. This particular oval laminate does give you that 2-year warranty. So exterior vertical graphics is just going to hold up that much longer for you. And then removal. Not being a PVC based product, after being on for several years, I'm sure many of you have removed graphics that come off in little tiny pieces. Well, that's PVC for you. It gets brittle, it breaks, it cracks over time. Not being PVC again, removal of this film is going to be much better for you, much more time effective, cost effective for you guys. And you can take this laminate and put it with our IJ180 for vehicles. So if you do get into vehicle reps with that stuff, and you'll get the performance of it staying more boardy during install, and then removal at the end. It also scratches less. You'll notice that if you do put a squeegee to this, it doesn't tend to scratch quite like a PVC-based laminate. So it's a little bit more durable, which is also good for your customer in the end too. Any questions? Okay. I guess what we'll kind of do, the first thing is we'll have everybody, and I think we've got about 5 heat guns, so not everybody's going to be able to grab a heat gun right away. I'll get up and I'll show you the first demonstration here, and we'll seal 3 edges with this small one like they did in the video. But when we do the panels, we'll probably just seal the top edge because you're going to want to leave an air escape both routes when you're trying to match it up and line your panels up. But for this particular graphic, just to mimic the video, we'll seal all 3 edges so you get that experience. And then we'll use the hand rollers. Let's see if they're in here. We do have the TS4 that you guys saw in the video. 2 of these for when we're doing the larger panels. But here in the boxes we have some hand rollers, and we'll kind of do these smaller graphics with that because then we have more guns and everybody else can try to keep busy with this. You know, when we get to doing the panels, it's going to probably be a little bit slower process, and we'll ask you guys to rotate in and out because we only have 2 of the TSA4s. TSA4, this is probably if you're gonna buy anything today and you plan on doing these sort of graphics, this is the one you would want to get on order with Regional. You can buy this entire textured wall wrap kit box from us, which comes with the Styno heat gun that you can control the temperature and look at it at 1,000 degrees. And then you'll also get these hand rollers as well that are in here. But this is going to be the one that you really want, and you can get a heat gun at Lowe's, where many of you probably already have heat guns for doing installs, for much cheaper than you know buying a heat gun through our kit. So if you do want to get all the kits and everything, it is probably worth it just to buy the entire kit if you want to get all the different little hand rollers as well. But this is the most important thing. If you're on a little bit of a budget, you can only get one of the devices. This is the one I would highly recommend to get right away. The wheel is interchangeable, so you will notice over time this thing gets eroded pretty well, but you can just buy a replacement wheel from us, so you don't have to buy the entire textured TS4 kit applicator. The other thing to remember today, when we put the heat gun in here, this is metal, so it does conduct heat, so be careful. It gets hot. We do have a glove that comes with it in our typical kit too. I don't know if that
Yeah, there's some in the black one.
Yeah. So if you can find one of these today while you're using this, please wear that on your leading edge. So when we get to the wall side, you'll always want your heat to be in front of your roller. So wear your glove on that side. And then, yeah, I guess we'll begin our first demonstration. I'll just kind of show you guys how to do it. You're going to learn with heat. I'm still not perfect on it all the time. I don't do it all the time, but you'll get burn marks, you'll notice if you go too slow. And then you'll also just notice where it doesn't finish and conform all the way if you're going too fast. So you kind of find that perfect heat.
Has anybody been out to our showroom and seen our graphic we have on our wall out there? You know, maybe a few of you have. So if you look at that graphic, it's a perfect example because we did that in a class and there was people doing it fast, there was people doing it slow. So where it was fast, we do see some discoloration in the material, but where it's slow, you know, this is supposed to settle into the pores and the grooves of the brick wall. And over there where they went too fast, the material doesn't look like it's settled in. It looks like it's kind of bubbled out just a little bit, or just a different look. It looks like vinyl laid down versus paint.
We didn't have the same laminate when we did that, did we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was?
Yeah.
We used one was used with the Envision and one was used with the 8524.
Right, yeah.
I believe the graphic on the right, the color graphic, is the Envision, and the graphic on the left is the typical 8624. And I think you'll notice on the 8624 side, there's more air bubbles in it. And that's because that product did not have Comply. Originally, when we came out with this Envision wrap film, it was really only printing to latex. But this is actually the SV480, as you'll see here on the backer, and that's for solvent-based or eco-solvent-based printing. When you're doing a textured wall wrap, you don't want to use UV inks, even though this material can print with UV. UV inks just aren't as flexible, they don't stretch as well. So you need to use solvent or latex. So this will be actually my first experience doing it with this paste ink. So guys did a great job printing it without a profile too. So also remember to get the profile for this material because it is very picky. It's not, because it's not a PVC based product. The coating's different. Yep, you can get it on our website. Many different RIP softwares. What are you using?
Right now, just VersaWorks.
VersaWorks.
That's what we printed that with.
I'm using it with VersaWorks. Yeah. So might be able to. I don't know if I'm assuming we have a VersaWorks profile for this. I know most of the time we work with the RIP manufacturers direct, like Onyx.
So is that,
What's that?
It's thread, like you have with thread.
Yeah, yeah.
is that EcoSol
Yeah.
Max? Okay.
The new one though, the Max 3, Max 4. The latest. We did it on the XR640 printer. So it uses the EcoSol Max 3 inks. But it's the same look you'll get with the Max 2, so.
The other thing to remember in the video that they talked about, 1,000 degrees is the curing heat you need to be at. Some of the guns today do not have the temperature reading on the back like the Steinel, the blue Steinel guns do. So when we're doing the big graphic over here, we'll use that. The other guns, if turned on level 2, I think heat up exactly to 1,000 degrees. So just run them at that when you're doing your test pieces and getting used to it and playing around. So that you're as close to 1,000, but if you can get one of these, I highly recommend it. It makes things a lot easier. Any other questions, any other concerns? Anybody want to eat a donut before we do this?
So the same product works on a floor?
Do you have them?
Yeah.
Same laminate?
So the biggest thing to remember is floor graphics. We're not doing really a floor demo. The vinyl will work on the floor. You don't want to use this laminate for the floor, because the biggest thing to remember with floor graphics is you need a UL slip resistant approved
The laminate, the legality of it.
You can use any vinyl that you want, typically on floors. Probably want to use something that's removable because you don't want to spend a bunch of time cleaning adhesive off the floor, or maybe potentially even pulling the coating off. That's one thing we do recommend is testing it first, so you don't pull the coating off of the floor. But yeah, so this does have removable adhesive that can apply. Air channels do make it easy to install. So
if you're using that for vehicle wrap base, and say if you're doing like a Sprinter van that has the gap in it,
yep.
I've always had a problem with that, like sometimes bubbling out with any of the other films that I've used.
Lifting off that?
Yeah, I mean, I've heated it up to a point where it's like hot as you can get it, you know, but I've always had an issue with that. Does that change a little bit with that film? Because
this stretches 150% material size, so if you have a 10-inch piece, you can stretch it to 15 inches. You have a much better chance. The biggest thing on those deep channels in there is getting an infrared gun and slowly post-curing to 200 degrees and making sure you hit every spot at 200 degrees. We've been doing some testing, some additional testing. I was actually at your guys' shop yesterday, and I was noticing they were putting primer on the edges. And we used to say primer all the hard spots, right? Primer. Well, through years of testing and figuring this out and learning this more, we've actually come to find out that post-curing, post-heating is much more important than primer. And we're finding that post-heating without primer actually does stick better than post-heating with primer, or just primer, no post-heat. So post-heating at 200 degrees in those deep channels, also giving yourself enough material. So we usually say, if you're doing that deep channel, leave about 6 inches of air, close out everything else, squeegee everything else out, leave yourself about a pocket of 6 inches off that channel, and then use that in your heat roller to go around that channel and tuck that vinyl in there, and it's, you know, you've got your comply, so you can just push your thumb in and press the other bubbles out. But post-heating at 200 then is
Post-heating is actually good practice all the time when you're doing vehicle wraps. That post-heat really sets that in. So it's always good practice when you're doing those wraps.
Yeah. I wish we would educate more on that. I've asked our guys to put more bulletins out and increase it, but we're 3M and sometimes we have legal to go through, and it gets more troublesome than anything else. So we're looking at developing it and getting it out, but yeah, the post-heat is definitely what we found is way more important than anything else. So that's what I try and preach. Any other questions before we get started?
Should be recommendation.
Yeah, we'll go over that again here. But yeah, your wall temperature, your ambient air temperature where you're installing, you want to be above 50 degrees. And you want it to stay above 50 degrees for 24 hours after install. That allows the adhesive to fully set. Once the adhesive's set, we do ratings negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. If it hasn't fully set and the temperature drops, you'll have an adhesive issue, and I think we were talking about that. So with the hand tools, there's 3 of them. This is the tool that I use to set the edges, just square edges on it. Any of your, and then even you'll see this with the TS4. If you have deep channels, and we don't have too many deep channels here today, pretty thin channels, but real deep channels, that gun's foam may not be able to get down into. So if you have some real deep channels, this might be good to go back into that area with and really get yourself recessed down in those areas. The VCAT tool. And then just for speed of hand application, when you're doing smaller graphics, I like to go with this one. However, if you're doing a big, large graphic, you're definitely going to want the TSA4 because this will work, but pushing with one hand and holding the heat gun with the other is just a pain. You'll notice when you get a hold of the TSA4 and you get both hands on it, it's much easier. So, get ourselves plugged in here.
It's going to blow my mind if they do the outside edges first.
So when setting the edges, I like to start in the middle. So you apply your 1,000-degree heat right here to an unsealed edge. You can kind of get it to curl over on itself. So I typically like to try and start in the middle, pull this way, and then even here I'll start in the middle and go down and then go up. And then down here, I'll start in the middle, come this way, and then go that way. Just to try and keep the edge from curling. If you come this way, especially on these side edges, if you come this way, they really want to roll the horizontal edge. You're typically pretty safe. On just the way I like to install, I always leave the right edge open because I like to go left to right like I'm reading a book. If you're dyslexic, then you can go right to left. And so always remember, heat gun in front of the roller. It's not going to heat it up if you put it behind the roller. And you just kind of come here. Go across that way. Down that way. You want to keep it about 3 inches, an inch to 3 inches off the surface. If you have any questions about that. Let's see here.
Is this the same one that you kind of lose your gloss level just a little bit and you know it's been seeded?
Yeah, you'll notice there is a little bit gloss difference right here when you textured in. You'll notice too if you heat it up too much, it'll gloss it even more. So. You'll see over in the other room, actually probably won't even see some of it today. It's really hard to control completely when you're doing a graphic like this, not to get those different gloss levels. But when you're off of it 10, 20 feet, which most of the time you're going to be, it's not going to be noticeable. So I got all my edges set. Now I'm just going to use the little bit larger hand roller and just go left to right, close it in. You might see that through here I might come back with my VCAT roller and close these in because it's a little deep, but this roller might have enough to close it, so we'll see. You guys can see up here I did get quite a bit of air in that channel, so I am going to come back with my VCAT. It's kind of hard to put pressure with just one hand, so. And I wasn't going fast enough right there, so I actually saw during the process the air pocket bubbled up and popped, so you'll see some wrinkles in here. So, as you're learning this process, you'll get your speed down.